I set the tone for the entire real estate transaction. How? I start off the process the right way by using the best strategies. Starting today, which is day one, processing begins. I'm currently a real estate processing manager. The real estate transaction, or the deal, is assigned to me once there is an accepted offer and all contract paperwork has been executed. In the last 4 years, I have successfully managed 1,145 real estate transactions to closing. In my first video in this series, I gave you the 5 stages of managing a real estate transaction that have helped me and others get deals to closing. Today, I'm breaking down stage 1, the processing begins stage. I'll be sharing daily videos with my strategies and tasks for every stage that I use. So here we go. Stage 1, processing begins. So the deal is under contract and all of the contract paperwork has been executed. Depending on your system and your arrangements with the real estate agent or broker, you'll need to obtain all of those documents. Once I receive the documents, I save them in my Google Drive into a property address specific folder. My Google Drive looks something like this. I really like Google Drive, and I like using Google's plans and products for all of my personal and business. Next, I organize and order the documents. This helps me to familiarize myself with the deal. I also like to organize the documents in the same order using the same labels. You'll be referring to these documents throughout the process and likely be asked for copies along the way. Here's a sneak peek inside one of my personal real estate purchases stored in Google, just so you can get an idea of what a deal looks like when I first started. Basically, you'll have all of the executed contract documents, which I call the fully executed PA, and then sometimes with the contract documents, you'll even have a copy of the earnest money check or deposit, and sometimes that will come later. My biggest tip, recommendation, advice, whatever you want to call it, is communication is key. And you should start this from the very beginning, like now. This is how you are going to find out information and relay information. Everyone needs to know that you are involved in the transaction. If you are the real estate agent that has been involved in the contract negotiation, then obviously you've already been involved in the communication. But now there's going to be a title company, maybe even an escrow agent, and maybe even a buyer's lender. And if you aren't using a processor or a transaction coordinator to manage your real estate transactions, you will need to continue to communicate. So based on my system, since I'm managing the real estate transaction for the agent and the broker, I communicate. I send out introductions at this point. One more tip, I always communicate with everyone involved, all of the parties in the transaction in writing. I accomplish this by using email and text. That way, everything is memorialized and I can refer back at any point in the transaction. So I always start with introduction emails. I send emails to the client we represent, and this email includes next steps, so our client knows what is happening. I also include the real estate agent on this email chain. In this intro email to our client, I offer the client the option to communicate by text rather than email. Honestly, most clients usually prefer this option. If the client does choose to communicate by text, I start that text thread, and I include the real estate agent as well. I would suggest that you offer these 2 options only unless you are the real estate agent managing your own real estate transaction. Next, I prepare email introductions to the co-op broker, the title company, escrow agent, and the buyer's lender. Don't forget to include the real estate agent in all of these emails. Let me say here that some of this might be different in your area of business, but this is what has worked for me in the 4 states I've worked in. Before I get too much farther into the best ways to manage real estate transactions, I encourage you to grab my free Under Contract What's Next ebook. The link is under the video description below. Also, I know y'all, sorry, I did live in Arkansas for a few years, have to have some questions about this process. So I'll start off the Q&A. When you have a new deal under contract, what is your first concern? Let me know below, and I'll answer each one of you. So the next task in the processing begins stage is the earnest money receipt. The purchase agreement will spell out who is holding the earnest money and when it is due. So if my client is the buyer, I'll either email them or text them, depending on their communication preference, to follow up. If my client is the seller, I'll email the cooperating broker to confirm the arrangements for the earnest money. In the event that the earnest money is not paid within the timeline set, this could create a problem, and I have seen that happen, especially when there is a backup offer on the property. I've linked the Earnest app below. I'm not an affiliate for them, nor have they sponsored this video, but it is just a great tool to use, so I hope you'll check it out. The last task in this processing begin stage is ordering. I refer to the purchase agreement to double check about ordering the title commitment and any buyer due diligence or inspections. If the purchase agreement calls for our side to order the title insurance commitment, I do order this in my email intro to the title company. And then I'll also let the co-op broker know which title company we are using in my intro to them. If I have the buyer and the PA calls for inspections or due diligence to be ordered, then I'll be coordinating those on behalf of the buyer. If I'm managing the transaction on behalf of the seller, I would have asked the co-op broker in my intro email which inspections they are going to be ordering. Coordinating these inspections can be a little tedious, but I've made it so much simpler with good communication and some digital products I use. Specifically, some templates and forms that I've put together. I will offer those products for your use soon, so make sure you stay tuned to my channel. See, work smarter, not harder. Now that I've covered the tasks and the strategies for the processing begin stage, the next stage to manage real estate transactions is moving right along. This stage is jam-packed with tasks and strategies to successfully move the deal towards the closing table. I'll be sharing those in the next daily video.